All right, now we're going to do the time warp forward one more time. We are into 2007. In this year, Cave only published 2 soundtracks. CVST 6 is the 7th album they've published for themselves, and it is one of the best soundtracks ever, in my opinion. This is just hands down Namiki at his strongest, but it's not Namiki by himself. There are some other bass escapers on this one, and that includes what we're hearing in the background right now. I haven't said it yet. This is the soundtrack for Mushihimesama Futari, which you may as well just call Mushihimesama 2 if you like. It's a direct sequel and it adds a new character. If you follow the story, it's a really interesting story actually. The new boy who's added, the young prince, is actually the younger brother of who was the villain from the first game. But I'm not sure that Reko knows that when this all starts, which makes for some interesting things happening throughout the game. Now, Don, you've chosen track 5, which is the stage 2 theme, Sea of Frozen Crystals, composed by Abe. Why'd you select this one?
Well, out of all the soundtracks, out of all the tunes on the soundtrack, I think this is probably the best one, surprisingly. I think it's very solid for what it does, and it gives off this icy vibe, and I don't know, it's just one of these tracks where I think Abe really shines.
Yeah, and I agree with you here. I really think this is one where the visuals match the music almost perfectly. This is an icy blue kind of level, and it's beautiful, and but it's also exhilarating, and it catches you off guard. And I love that about the style of the level, and I love that about the style of Abe's composition here, and I think he fits right in with Namiki in terms of quality. Now my pick from Futari is a short one, but I just love it. It's the select screen, the opening track, The Prince Age 9. I also love the track from the first Mushihimesama, Princess Age 15. But what Namiki did here as sort of a variation on a theme, sort of saying what was up was down and what was down was up in terms of where he goes with the melody, but then sort of holding to that same syncopated, fun beat and using a lot of similar synths. I thought it was a real great way to start the sequel. Any thoughts on that, Don?
It is a short track, and I do really enjoy his opening themes when they're more synth-based.
Yeah.
So, and it fits with the whole Mushihime-sama universe, so in that respect, it's a good track.
Yeah.
It doesn't develop much, but these tracks never do.
Yeah. It's a nice short track. And while this track comes to its conclusion, let me say, if you can get the Futari soundtrack in its original print and you get it complete, it comes with an art book. And I just love the art to this game. The front cover of the soundtrack alone is just glorious. You got Reko and Palm, the young prince, there with it on it, and palms up on a tree. I just love it. And so you got to get the art book if you can. It's just awesome. All right, now the next one. This is the first time Cave decides to defy their own convention. They had been counting their catalog numbers forward from 0. Now they start a separate series where they start at 1,000 and count backwards. A lot of their drama albums fall in here, and we're not going to talk about the drama albums. But we're going to start here with this music album. It's 2 soundtracks in one, published in the last few days of 2007. It's the Guwange / ESP Rade original soundtrack. So it starts with the Guwange soundtrack and then the ESP Rade soundtrack. We're listening to the Stage 3 theme from Guwange. It's track 5 on the disc, Underworld Cherry Blossoms. This was Don's pick. Don, can you tell me a little bit about the Guwange OST? Because I remember someone saying somewhere about the source audio is compromised because they had to record it from playing the game or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Let me check the only reference it could be in. So give me 1 second.
While Don's looking into that, let me just mention I think one of the reasons these two soundtracks got paired is because they're all from the same composer.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I mean, Shinji Hoso mastered it, so it is very, very possible.
Yeah, I remember hearing or reading somewhere that Hosoe had said it was a challenge getting this audio onto the disc, and that he had to go through some steps to get to it. This was composed by Kusunoki, was it Masahiro Kusunoki, and he did both Guwange and Espgaluda. Between the two soundtracks, I think I like Guwange more, but I'm happy to listen to both on any given day. Why'd you pick Stage 3, Don?
I think it is probably the best soundtrack. I mean, the best track on the Guwange soundtrack. It's really melodic and peaceful, which is not something you'd expect with this type of game.
Yeah.
But it really fits the whole, ancient Japanese kind of vibe that Guwange sets forth.
Yeah, the old Asian style, which is one of the best things about the game's artwork. The music tends to fit that as well, and I think Kusunoki did a stand-up job with this whole soundtrack. So I'll give him a high five for Guwange, and we'll listen to this one a little more. Now, Espgaluda or Espgaluda, Don, do you know, does that have any correlation with Espgaluda?
I think I think it's in the same universe.
Yeah, the same fictional universe.
But I'm not sure about the whole story. I mean, I'm sure there's a tie in there somewhere.
Yeah, from an art standpoint, it seems like the world's a little different. This seems more of like a cyberpunk thing, whereas Galuda's seems to have a little more fantasy involved in it.
Yeah, that could be.
But Espgaluda does have some good tracks on it. For the most part, it's not my favorite soundtrack. This track, though, Desperate School, which is the first stage theme, track 22 on this OST, I think it's a good one. Let's listen to it a bit. Yeah, it's all right. What do you think, Don?
Yeah, I really enjoy this stage theme. I like the stage themes in this game, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Especially stage C. I think that's Nightmare.
Yeah, stage C is pretty good too, now that you mention it. All right, we're going to warp forward into the year 2008. Whoa, 2008. 3 albums in 2008, again, excluding reprints or drama albums. Start with CVST 0007. This is the soundtrack for Muchi Muchi Pork, which I'm surprised by how much I actually like this one. This is a cave in-house one. You got Daisuke Matsumoto, Naohiro Saito, Masa King, all those people doing it. I'm surprised by how much I like this soundtrack, because I didn't think I would like it when I picked it up. We're going to start with Don's selection. Stage 5, Iza Iza Main Dish. Tell us why you picked it, Don.
Well, out of all of the stage themes, I think this is definitely my favorite, and I think it's the best one, and I particularly love like the orchestral focus, and those brass harmonies just make me smile. But I think some of the other soundtracks, aside from maybe stage 3 and the boss themes, suffer a bit, but I think this one's really well thought out. It has lots of elements, choir, everything.
I'm going to give my comments on it after we take a listen. Yeah, this one definitely has, like, with that, like, upbeat orchestral thing, it sort of has, like, that sports channel vibe. And I'll also say, you know, it kind of reminds me, especially in the intro, of the battle theme from Grandia, Noriyuki Iwadare. In fact, this style is very much like Iwadare, orchestral with a lot of emphasis on xylophone and other pitch percussion. But it's a complex piece, you're right, it's a very well-written piece, and I do enjoy listening to it. But my favorite track, my absolute favorite track on Muchi Pork, I could listen to it 1,000 times on repeat, is the Stage 1 theme. And I know there's someone out there making fun of me for picking Stage 1 again.
I am. Not just...
But I love this theme, Doki Doki in the Sky. This track, I had to go through the Scott Pilgrim video game soundtrack by Anamanaguchi to make sure they didn't crib this opening lick, because I could have sworn they did, but they did not. But when you hear it, you could think it's in that game. I'm going to play it for you all real quick, and then we'll talk more about the track. The other thing I'll say about this Stage 1 theme is that it could almost be rendered into like the perfect anime opening vocal track. What do you think, Don?
Oh yeah, I think a lot of the tracks on here have that very that sound.
Yeah, I think they do. This one especially though, just like if you made Muchi Pork the anime series, like, oh man, like there's a verse and a chorus, it's very clear. And that little intro lick, like I talked about before, it's just sugary and candy, and oh, it's just wonderful. I absolutely love it. I will say one more thing. The naming convention of these songs is really interesting. It's like the title itself. It's sort of this like onomatopoeia or noise or sound repeated twice, and then a word at the end. So you have something word, and that's like how all the songs are named. So like Iza Iza main dish, or Doki Doki in the sky, or Muchi Pork. So I think that's really cute, and I like that. I like that consistency within the soundtrack. And I just really am surprised, because talking to fans of Cave in general, most people don't seem to like this one very much, and I'm taken aback by how much I enjoy it. All right, let's get to one though that I think everyone can enjoy, and I think everyone does enjoy this one. It's the OST for Death Smiles. Death Smiles was, unless I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure this is the first Cave game to make it to the US. It came out, Axis Games put it out on the 360.
I believe so.
This is a gothic-themed, incredible artwork, by the way. Everything about this game is incredible, except some would say the level design, because it's not quite as difficult as some of your other Cave shooters. But this is a horizontal scrolling shooter, absolutely beautiful. Great soundtrack. You got Manabu Namiki and some other bass escapers on it. Actually, is this?
No, this is all Namiki.
Yeah, this is a Namiki solo. What we're listening to now is the opening track, the stage select music, Invitation from Another World. And one of the things I love about this game too is you choose your stage order. There's 1 and 2, so there's A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. You play those 6 stages in the order of 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, but you can choose if you want to get the C's out of the way or the A's out of the way. And it matters because if you're playing on the highest difficulty level, when enemies explode, they don't just leave points, but they leave these things that will hurt you unless you're familiar, like the little guy that follows you touches it first. But that only happens in the later stages, so you decide which that later stage will be. So stage select is really important, and I do really like that music a lot. But if you don't mind, Don, I'm going to just skip right ahead, though, to what is totally an iconic piece of music. And you get that quote there where it says, "The mind of man rests on a delicate balance between reality and the world of light," which that was a quote from some novel, I think. I'm going to look this up while you tell us more about Namiki's work here and what you think of this opening track, Burning Halloween Town.
Oh, this is probably, well, not my favorite on the soundtrack, but it is probably one of Namiki's best Stage 1 themes in existence, which I would place among Battle Garega's Fly to the Leaden Sky and then Interception and everything. But this piece is just, I can't describe it. I first heard this, someone sent this to me way before the OST was published, that they somehow ripped from the arcade board, and ever since I was like hooked. And I'm pretty sure that this is probably Namiki's favorite soundtrack that he's ever composed for Cave, because he said it's easy and like everything just matches. The Gothic Ollie style, the neoclassical rock flavor.
So would you say this is the song that sort of drew you into Cave?
No, but this is definitely one that made me want to hear more of it going forward. It wasn't. I would say I didn't really like get super into it until I heard this, but I did enjoy his previous works as well.
This is the first song from Namiki and from a Cave game that I actually, someone sent to me, and I sat up and paid attention. And it was since then that you were one to really draw me in to understand like how good this music is. But man, this song was one that sort of on my own made me want to hear more. And correction, the quote comes from a movie, a pornographic film, a sexploitation drama called Mondo Keyhole, released in 1966, which Wikipedia describes as covering themes including the pornography business, drugs, rape, martial arts, and revenge. So someone at Cave knew this movie and liked it enough to quote that the mind of man rests on a delicate balance comes right from that film. And
maybe Namiki, we don't know.
Maybe Namiki. And I love when that guy speaks like real low. Like it's a part of the song. You gotta have that there, man. So I'm glad we did the research and found the answers to that. Now, moving forward, this was one of my favorite albums. They're almost all are my favorites, but we're going to go now into, I think, if it's not Cave no Uta, I think this is my least favorite album in the Cave collection, and it's meant to be. It's sort of a hodgepodge. It was a collection of other stuff they wouldn't release on their own soundtrack. This album and it's got a weird name too. It's called Celebrity of the Voice Premium Compilation Album Voice Bowl. The catalog number is CVST 0999, one down from the Guwange 1000. This was published in the last week of 2008, December 27th, right after Christmas, but it is no Christmas gift, let me tell you. This soundtrack it's actually the soundtrack for 4 different games. You have Mushihimesama, you have Himitsu no Hanapoko, you have Dangon Fuveron, which in my opinion is the best, and then at the end you do get the soundtrack for Donpachi, which you'll hear later in the video. Cave never published it, but if you want to get an album that has Donpachi on it, there's a better one than this one to buy. Would you agree, Don?
Yes, I would agree. And I would also agree that Dangon Feveron is by far the best on this compilation.
Yeah, Dangon Feveron has some good songs on it. There's nothing too exciting about this whole collection of music, but this one's pretty good. Now,
the disco-y kind of 70s vibe you get from the whole soundtrack. It's campy, it's fun. But I think Soul Supermarket is probably the best.
Yeah, and that's what you're hearing, folks, is track 6 of disc 2, Soul Supermarket. It's the stage 4 theme of Dangon Feveron, composed by Ryuichi Yabuki, who I think also did Himitsu no Hanapoko. I think this is the better of those 2 soundtracks, but let's listen to this song from Dangon Feveron. Alright, and my pick is the attack mode music from Himitsu no Hanapoko. It's track 24 of disc 1, also composed by Ryuichi Ibuki, and I put it here to say, not everything Cave publishes is amazing, and right here you hear this is just sort of an okay milquetoast kind of theme. It's not bad. There's nothing... Okay, there are some bad tracks on here, but most of it isn't bad. It's just not remarkable.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so here's a little bit of Alright, that's all the more I think I can stand. Time warp to 2009. 2009 is the year where Cave really starts cranking out a lot of their own music. We're going to see them publishing their own arrange albums and some really great OSTs and some other weird stuff, starting in January 2009.